I would think before the RFP is let, but I would also ask this board, you can ask for input, but that also comes to at a cost. So how much additional cost, if they would ask for a number of additional locations, you as a group would need to provide us with some direction in terms of how much more you were willing to spend.
Are they, have you heard that?
No, I'm not, but if there are suggestions of additional locations and additional places.
Additional locations?
If they ask for, I mean, I'm not willing to spend anything more on it.
I'm just saying, nobody mentioned additional locations, did they? I
But
just
she's
might have
saying
missed
if
it.
we go to the school board and ask for
Oh,
input,
okay.
they may say,
If
we
you ask-
need 5 other intersections.
Correct.
And then it's on us for another $10,000.
No one has mentioned to me that there would be additional
I was gonna
locations,
say.
but typically when we talk about crossing guards, people don't want less. Well, you know.
So, but let me just be clear here. The question is, we're not asking them to expand the scope, right? It's pretty clear if we're paying for it, they can ask all they want. They would have asked by now. I mean, whenever there's a need for it, I would assume if the school district thought there was a need for expanded locations, one of us would have heard by now that something about that. I could be wrong.
I just don't know.
Right.
Because I haven't been
But
here
the
past years.
request is not that. The request or the motion was, can we specifically go to them and ask them to indemnify us before we sign this contract?
We certainly can. I don't know what that. My guess is they'll probably say, here's a copy of our certificate of insurance. We're fine. They probably won't even agree pretty much. They'll probably just tell them, based on the policy that we have, and limits and all these provisions and terms of policy, here's a certificate that you can give to the village. A certificate holder, and it'll probably take, be pro forma. That would be my guess. The question would be, if they say, no, you're on your own, then of course then we have to decide whether you're going to enter into the contract or not. Right, I mean, that's pretty much.
So I think you're just asking the question. You're asking to get approval to ask the question. Is that correct?
I mean, I was thinking of it going to the school board more as an informational thing, not necessarily, not anticipating that they were going to have any changes.
Oh, okay, so it's more information that it was soliciting additional input on status.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that was helpful clarification for me, thank you.
Is there a different word we could use just to avoid any misunderstanding?
For information, being provided to them for information, is it?
So would that be a friendly amendment?
Yeah. So what is this, how does it say?
To approve the RFP for the crossing guard with provision that a contract entered into that is presented to the school board. Just has presented to the school board.
For information for informational purposes.
You okay with your second step?
Oh.
Okay. Trustee Buckles.
Okay, just 2 things, and I would like if we could move along, because this is something we've been doing for many years. So I understand that there are some questions here for some of you who haven't seen this before, but it's a public safety service that we're providing, not just to the school district, but to many people who use it, the crossing guards, you know. So, and B, I see it for informational. We're not asking the school board to weigh in on anything, nor should we, as another, another governmental body, force them to do something that they know about this. Okay, they're happy that we pay for this. We pay a pretty hefty sum. So anyway, as long as this doesn't hold up the process, I'm fine with it. But if we're requiring them to take it to the school board and perform some kind of action, which it doesn't sound like we're doing.
Chief Nimmer would have to respond as to whether this is holding up the process.
No. No.
Great. And also, anytime any of us, like you said, can contact any member of the school board, in fact, half of us talk to them on a daily basis.
I don't know that I would say half of those talk.
Well, Trustee McKay.
Hypothetically, say that since the school board isn't used to being presented with the RFP or the contract or whatever it is that we're presenting from them, with them, if for some reason their board said, like, I didn't know about this, and they there is no action we're asking
None.
from them. So if they give any negative feedback or express any type of concern, we would still, as a board, decide whether to enter into the contract. Because the contract will come back to us to take action on. Correct?
That is a good question. I don't have clarity on that. My understanding is we are asking them to review it for informational purposes, like we do with other things in Cal. We've reviewed many that we
No, I
don't vote on.
understand that.
But that they would have to say yes or no to the question of, will you indemnify us? So that would be an action. Am I correct in saying that? That's just like, we don't want to ask them, we're one of 7, so I can't ask the school board, I can't call them up and say, hey, can you send us over some insurance, right? Even though I might know some of them, I can't say that because I'm acting on behalf of the board and I'm only one of 7. So we would collectively adopt the motion as is, and then they would just go to them and make that request. They have every opportunity to say no.
And staff has the direction they need to fulfill that request and then proceed with taking bids and bringing them back to us for consideration. Approving this doesn't.
I'm clear
Okay,
now
so
that I understand what input
Okay.
meant and, right.
It's, so basically approving this doesn't put any of the staff in a position where they can't discharge their duties. Right? Okay.
Unless,
I just wanted to make sure.
So we're asking the school board to indemnify us for, they don't have any action in this.
Do you want to explain it again?
Party to the contract.
Attorney Bear.
Well, arguably, it's the third-party beneficiary. I mean, it's for the schools, students. But really, what we're talking about is they're not the provider, whoever that would be, will have to provide insurance and will sign an agreement, essentially our indemnifies. So the only other independent liability that there could be would be some kind of independent liability on municipality for hiring a bad contractor, maybe didn't know the problem with this contract we passed, or some strange allegation. So we'd be saying to the school district, look, we're happy to take this service on and pay for the service for the benefit of your school children in your district, but we don't want any risk on the backside of it because it's an additional service we're providing. Can you give us an additional certificate of insurance demonstrating that if there's any liability, we would be covered under the policy, a liability policy issued to the district because this is a benefit for your students, and they'd probably call their carrier, probably call their insurance agent and say, well, here's the situation we've got, and they'd probably send us a certificate and we throw it in the file, and that'd probably be the thing that's probably helpful.
Trustee Warner.
So am I correct in saying that would be, you view that as kind of a pro forma exercise, that in combination with, if we provide them this information for informational purposes, I would guess that they're unlikely to object to us paying for crossing guard services. So all in all, would you say that this is more of kind of just more of an FYI going to the school board?
I think so, except for, of course, the request for the certificate, which I think they could probably get in a day. I doubt there'd be any problem with that. They probably said they'd probably just call their agent and send us a certificate. I don't envision anything serious on that. And it'd be a call the district, and it's just since we're not really introducing a contract, it's really an insurance matter, but something that you can call and just say, can you send us a copy of the certificate? I'm sure for coverage purposes, probably
Okay, so for clarity, this is the RFP, so the contract will come back for us for approval, or is it just going to you guys?
it'll come back to you.
Okay, and so if the school district hypothetically has to pay additional monies for said certificate, if it's not already in their policy, then I guess I'd like to know how much more that we're taxing the school district in order to accommodate this change this year.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? So we have a motion and a second. Does anyone need it repeated? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Trustee Buckers. Okay, so now we'll move on to 5E, which is consideration for Shorewood today. I believe I had a question. Does anyone else have a question on this contract or RFP for contract? No? Okay, so my only question was last year, I think it's task 6, but we talked about lowering the distribution, like the number of copies that we had to be made for the distribution of businesses. So it was, we had a certain number for households, and I believe we had discussion about there was a lot of repetitive going into the, distribution of what's left at businesses. And I'm just wondering how that was resolved or incorporated, meaning I didn't see what is the proposed number of copies we're asking them to print. And I think that'll have an impact on how much the proposals come back, since this is the RFP. I'm sure we know the amount of households it gets sent to, right? I mean, that's got to be a fixed number. So that would go in there. But what, for the businesses, I can't remember now if it was 50 copies per business or if it was 50 LT. I can't remember that number, but there was a number that we discussed. And we had mentioned as a board in our discussions that next round of it, maybe we since it's full color, maybe we scale back on the number that we do for businesses.
Is that in here? That's the printing component of the project.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That's in the attachment A,
Attachment A.
to use the same amount in their costs. So there's right now in the RFP, there's no proposed to change the amount of printed copies.
Okay.
Would you like 2 alternatives or an alternative?
Yeah, I just, I didn't go back and get the notes out from that discussion, so I don't have the exact,
I think it's like 200 copies or something like that printed for the businesses and the public facilities, something like that. Because I think it's like 8,200 total for all the mailed addresses. So.
Does it say the total number printed so that somebody can?
In attachment A, we have the total number.
8,400.
8,400, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw a number out there out of the blue, but I assume staff was going to look at that and come to us with, how many we could reduce, if possible, for the businesses. Like, for instance, I just remember the conversation in my own business. I had 3 copies. I got 2 in the mail, and then I had someone come and drop off 10 more. And so we had talked about, how many are each business getting, because printing full color isn't.
What I would recommend then, if that's something you want to add to the motion, is just encourage staff that when the RFP is issued, that I can clarify with the current team that's doing it now, the specific amount that's going to the businesses and see an alternative to be reduced.
Okay.
And then when I get the cost estimates, I can work with the proposers on if that number was reduced by like 100, what that cost would be then.
Trustee Buckles.
Well, unless anyone has any, I'd like to make a motion with his language incorporated.
Go ahead. Do you want to read that back?
I have to approve the RFP to clarify the specific amount and clarify the amount to be reduced.
You want to repeat that? What?
You can add that as an alternative.
Okay.
So that way we would have a cost of what it would be currently, and then if we were to reduce like by 100, I'll find out what that number is. But if we were to reduce it, it would be an alternative cost.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next consent agenda item that was removed was 5F, consider DPW authorization to hire.
Yeah, just a question on the hiring recruitment process. Since each one of these are an opportunity to increase the diversity of our staff, is this the hiring already started? Are we pretty well along in this process?
For this particular position, no.
Okay.
We come to you prior to the posting.
I was just wondering if there's a way to expand our posting so we reach a more diverse pool of applicants. Do we feel,
I would happily entertain all suggestions
Okay.
as to avenues to do that. We don't typically get a great response in terms of the pool of qualified candidates. We have tried multiple different avenues of online postings. We always post with Glee. We always post with APWA. We generally post with the Journal, and we've tried multiple other online, Monster, ZipRecruiter, all of them. And with those types of services, we get enormous pools of applicants, a fraction of which are even remotely qualified for the job. So I would happily, and I know Joel would, I would speak for Joel, entertain suggestions for avenues to do so.
Can I make a suggestion? This is something I think maybe the HRC, we could defer down and ask them to look at it as a policy, some help, some recommendations.